kind of give us the presentation on this, you know, about the reason that we're going to spend $20,000 to set this up, plus another almost $5,000 annually. It doesn't really cure our problem about prepaying on our payroll, does it not?
What it cures is a calculation of hours. We have several pay groups, and Susan's here as well to go into more detail on different pay groups. It's just the way the way the hours are calculated. That's the biggest problem as far as paying in arrears, which I think you're talking about. There's nothing technical to that.
Okay, and I'm just trying to justify this amount of money because we spend so much money on the munis system. We can't do it with the munis system. We have to have another system to do this with.
To go semi-monthly,
Why wasn't this brought up before we spent all this money on the munis system? I mean, are we running into is it causing a problem? I mean, I don't really know anything about it. I'm just trying to justify this amount of money because the system that we have is so expensive.
We had put some money, or back the original committee, we put some money in the budget for contingency for stuff like this. Then I think it was decided, the court decided to go bi-weekly, which we would not have done this. And I think on July 17th, somewhere near the court voted to go back to semi-monthly, which was going to take some extra training days and come up with a solution to handle the semi-monthly or to handle the hours for semi-monthly. I took two approaches to it. I tried to get some enhancements done through munis, and I haven't heard back from him yet on that. And so I was looking at maybe just having someone write a front end for us, which basically is a timekeeping system, which the county would own, which customized for the county for our specific needs. To calculate these hours because the sheriff has two different groups that has different hours, then there's exempt, not exempt. And by doing this and using a local company, which was ZDOC, we would also have the option to maybe add bells and whistles later on if we wanted to, because we'd pretty much own it. Or if the court changed the way it's going to do some of the payroll, with these rules, we could easily go in there and change them ourselves, or have EDOC change them for us.
If we ever decided to go back or try to go to the bi-weekly instead of the bi-monthly, would this still be used, or would we need it?
We probably would not need it. This is going to have some things in it which I like. People doing data entry, it's going to do some error checking as they're pushing in and cut down some time in the payroll department. But from what I understand, if we went back, we wouldn't necessarily need this. And what this is doing is using Munis's timekeeping interface. So if a company has, a lot of companies do purchase their own timekeeping system because of their need.
Well, I think what drew my attention to it is that we spend a ton of money on Munis. And then it seems we're coming back to court, seem to have to add to it, spend more money because certain things Munis can't do. And that's what bothered me a little bit. That's why
Munis, it's the way we calculate hours. It's the way we try to calculate hours. My whiteboard's full of the way of the calculations on there, and I'm scared to erase it.
So, Robert,
when we first started this Munis project, we budgeted, or we should have known, $476,585 to do the project that first year, and we had everything up and going. The extra training days, I purchased those for $33,500, and which came to a total, move that budget, that bottom line up to $510,085. My calculations, and these are my calculations, that original goal, we still have $129,723 left to finish this in.
I guess my question is, Robert, I mean, we have a system in place that we could use if we went to the 26-week pay period, that we wouldn't need to spend the $20,000 plus the $4,750 a year maintenance. But we're going to be tying that system after we spend that money into just tracking, logging the time that's worked. But it's not going to do anything about when we pay on the 15th and the time cards really don't get up there till the 18th. It's not going to change anything on that scenario.
Basically, you're talking about going in arrears, Commissioner. That's not a technical solution to that. It's simply the court's procedures or on policies. How do you want to keep a week's pay to get in arrears, or how do you want to go about that? That's what's involved in that.
So this isn't going to fix anything. What is this going to actually address then?
It's because of the way the county pays these different pay streams. And Susan might be able to give you more detail of it. I think she's here.
Come on up, Susan.
You've got... She won't have to bring this stuff into a spreadsheet and try and calculate it and see where the hours are. You're paying an overtime on one group and not on another. The hours for pay is within, let's say one group, your hours of pay is one date range, but the hours for their overtime is another date range you've got to go by. So
because we're doing the 24 pay period, right?
Well, you'd be doing that either way, but if,
how would we be doing it if it was on the 26th? Would it fall every 2 weeks then?
I'm not sure. I'm just going by what the auditors say. If we were doing bi-weekly, we would not have to do this. But
what? Do what now?
If you went bi-weekly, you would not have split weeks. And that's the problem in Munis and PeopleSoft, is that it can't look back to pick up that split week.
So that's just what I was saying. The reason why you're having with this, it's not going to change that though, right? I mean, we're still going to have that problem. So we're going to spend $20,000
problem.
Well, the bi-weekly.
Since it's on the bi-weekly again versus semi-month.
Well, just
is that what we're going is that the issue right now? I just want to get someone name.
Well,
but I have some problem. I'm pro semi-monthly. You ever done the pro bi-weekly? We went over this before, and the reason why, if I understand it, that again, I made the motion. I was bamboozled. I bamboozled myself, and nobody bamboozled. Okay, I could with myself. And then we came back and corrected because we've been on the semi-monthly, you know what I'm saying, before you got here, before I got here, before Stan got here, whatever. So the problem, as we understood it, was that how could the Munis system, in which we worked on a committee, Commissioner Terry, Susan, Robert was on it even when we came with the Munis system, but we didn't know that flaw would come up and get in the way. The reason why we went back to the semi-monthly was because it was going to destroy, you know what I'm saying, our employees' pay, you know what I'm saying, just by that difference. You can say they're not going to lose no money, but they were going to lose money, and with Voodoo economics at the end of the year would be the same. But at the same time, the hardship was done now. So this committed stunt of working with you had a problem with it, and had a problem with it. The that system be congruent with Munis. And we came up with that particular system. Now, when you talk about money, the one that we had, what was the name of it? Not Munis, the one that we PeopleSoft. That was a bunch of money, okay? That was a bunch of money. And the Munis not costing near back as much as PeopleSoft it cost us over the years. So we were trying to basically fix a problem that out when we found out it was a problem. Now for the real thing, I mean, I had Robert, pulling out all the employees of comp, sick time, and relief. And we working on a situation with that. if we talking about reels, going into the reels, I think that we can come up with a comfortable plan on that also. But I'm trying to distinguish where it is now. Rather than telling me to keep on paying all that money, you know, we're going to pay it either way. It's just a thing. We're talking about working out a problem where they want to put the bulk of the employees in financial buying and strain, and I think that we came up with situations that will correct that problem. And plus we got a local, we always talking about local business people and all of that. Now we have a local, he's out the fact that you don't have to go to where the minister in Maine and spend money out of the city to come here to eat the locally here, live harmless computer program and come.
But what I'm saying is that's not going to fix all of our problems. It's just going to fix some of the problem that we have.
It's not going to fix the arrears. It's going to fix.
So how can we fix both at the same time?
When we working on that, Commissioner said, you let us work on it.
So we're bringing up something to start with here, and we're going to spend money, and then find out we maybe need to do something different. I'm just saying let's fix both at the same time.
See, don't politically confuse nothing about spending money. So we just spend money. We spend money all the time. Every time we come up here, we spend money.
I'm just saying,
as far as how much money you want to spend, you understand, or how much money, then we need to limit that in the budget. When we do the budget, you say we need to cut $2 million, that's what we need to do. But at the same time, we budget, I think we're operating within the budget. I think that we solving a problem, okay, that came up. Now would be the difference if we didn't do it. Now everybody has to submit and say, okay, if you haven't got an alternate solution, then you submit. But at the same time, I think that we came up with a solution that would deal with the semi-monthly and the bi-monthly issue that we have. Now, relevant to the reals, that's a different problem. But I think we're working on it. I think that we got almost a solution on that.
So you don't think we get it
that we would have to present to the county office.
Well, one is a technological issue and the other is a procedural issue. So
I'm just saying, why not get them both at the same time? Is my question.
Why not both at the same time? Well, this comes first. If this wasn't going to work out and we don't vote for it, then we're back in the same spot we started. We got to figure out.
Well, what I'm saying is, how do you know that fixing the paying in the rears ain't going to affect what they're going to do here?
Big one.
How do you know that when you come up with your solution of not paying in the rears, like where we can pay in the rears instead of paying in advance, like we're doing now, he's not going to affect this solution?
Because the gentleman that wrote the software pretty much stated he could make this work any way we wanted it to.
But now there again, you're talking about what they're proposing here today versus what we were looking at also being able to get the time put in before we pay the employees.
Commissioner, these are two different problems.
Right. They're two different problems.
This was problem one, and arrears is the second problem.
Right, but
so either one would affect the other.
And all I'm saying is, when we went from the 24 to 26, that cured both problems.
You created a lot of problems. When we went to 26, you created a lot of problems. And I think you've been narrow. Now you got to think out of the box. You got to think a little bit broader than what you're thinking, how you think. But at the same time, our presentation is there that we got a solution when we were wrangling over a few months ago. Now, the reals is a self-problem.
Right. And I'm just saying, you're fixing one part. I just don't want to just get into one.
But at least we trying to fix it. We trying to fix it.
Does this have any time gathering information on it? I mean, exactly explain to me how this is going to be gathering the time. Are you going to manually input it?
Yes.
Who's going to manually input it?
Department heads or, specified.
Like they're doing now.
Basically, same thing they're doing now in PeopleSoft.
Okay, so the department heads will put it in on the paperwork into Munis?
Yes, no, into the EDOT timekeeping system that we would like to have.
Okay, and then what's going to happen from there?
And then that will be imported into Munis. to actually get the paycheck. This EDOC system will also be the keeper of the balances, of all the leave balances, and it will import into Munis for the paychecks. This is just basically a timekeeping system, which we're going to need either way we go. If we go back to 26 pay periods, you still have to input time. So it will just have to be tweaked. The rules can be changed in the EDOC system to fit.
What would this do that it wouldn't do if you had a time clock system where the employees, when they punched it or when the employee did the log, it's automatically transferred to the payroll instead of having a middleman?
Well, if you purchase a time clock system, I would think it costs a whole lot more than $25,000, but it's going to error check for things, rules that we have.
Commissioner, time clock system would still be doing it. You'd still be using her timekeeping software to sell those work. It doesn't put the time straight in the
I think I saw a proposal that, I don't know, Commissioner Snell, might have been one you got, that I think, or you had Robert get, that it was over $100,000 for a time clock system.
Yeah, that was with the old system.
No, time clocks. It's strictly up to the elected officials on whether they use that or not. And I'll use my office for an example. It'd be extremely hard to use a time clock in my office, even though most people work right there in my office. But I have people working at home a tremendous amount of time.
If it helps clarify, this system is like a time clock system only. It doesn't have time clocks. It calculates time just like a time clock system calculates the time.
Stan, do you have a position on this at all? Do you know much about this?
If it will collect the time in such a way that it considers the split week, we'd hope that they say that they can program that in, that's fine. And if it will interface with Munis, it will, at least it may make preparing the payroll somewhat easier. I do have a comment to make on this agenda item. Part of the item was granting an exemption from bidding based on the fact that it's professional service. I don't agree with that. I don't believe it meets the definition of a professional service, which is defined actually, and that the exemptions are defined in the local government code, and I brought that with me if you'd like me to read it. But what I'd like to say is it doesn't make a difference if it's going to be less than $50,000, it's exempt anyway. But if you grant the exemption from bidding based on the fact that it's a professional service, I don't agree with that. And if it comes in that they ask for more money and it's more than $50,000, then I would have a problem with it.
And I agree with Stan after reading that we don't need to apply that exemption, that we can do it without it.
So what you're saying is you think we should go out for bid?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying just don't grant the exemption based on the fact that it's a professional service. It's exempt because it's less than $50,000.
What was the thinking on this exemption?
Yeah, that was my question.
We'll come back to that. I do believe it is a professional service under Attorney General opinions. And I can cite the opinions that basically if I'll just read this and it gives the trust to...
Ken, could you come up here?
Oh, he's coming up, Robert. This is FLSA compliant?
Yes.
Okay, auditable.
Yes. And it's just enough money in the budget for it.
The reason I was considering the professional service for the different Attorney General opinions of the courts, and I'm going to just read it just like I pulled it off out of the courts have not adopted a universal definition of the term professional service. However, several cases suggest that it comprehends labor and skill that is predominantly mental or intellectual rather than physical or manual, and besides narrow casualty company versus crazy water. It no longer includes only the services of lawyers, physicians, or theologians, but also those members of disciplines requiring special knowledge or attainment, a high order of learning, skill, and intelligence. It says the Attorney General opinion in NW-344 Black's Law Dictionary 1089-95th edition 1929. It basically says the same thing in Attorney General opinion DM 106 and Attorney General opinion FS 1136. But that's where I got it.
Well,
Professional services aren't just those listed.
that's true. I have no problem with that Attorney General opinion. But the Local Government Code in Chapter 262.023 is what lays out the requirements for competitive bidding. And in that chapter, it says, before a county may purchase one or more items under a contract that require an expenditure exceeding $50,000, the Commissioners Court of the county must, and then it goes on to say, use competitive bidding. Well, it defines.
What's between the line and what's what?
It must, I'll read it, comply with the competitive bidding or competitive proposal procedures prescribed by this subchapter. Well, the point I wanted to make was, in the subchapter itself, it defines the word item. It says under definitions, item means any service, equipment, good, or other tangible or intangible personal property, including insurance and high technology items. Okay? The term does not include professional services. Okay? Then it goes on to define, well, what's a high technology item? High technology item means a service, equipment, or good of a highly technical nature, including data processing equipment and software. And the invoice had software on it. And then it goes, including technical services related to those items. So this is a high technology item. It's specifically included in the competitive bidding requirements, the way it reads.
But then under section 262.024, discretionary exemptions, a contract for the purchase of any of the following items is exempt from the requirement established by 262.023. If Commissioners Court, by order, grants the exemption under item number 4, a personal or professional service.
That's correct. That's correct, which was what you were about to do. But this isn't a professional service. It's a high technology item. And it's defined as such.
We aren't buying software on package, but we're having it developed, I guess.
It's still software. All software is developed, isn't it? Well,
Being developed, you're not going to be able to go to the store and buy this.
I understand that, but it's a high technology item. It includes, it specifically says, technical services related to those items. In other words, related to software.
And we run
So,
Yes.
you know,
Well, he basically agreed that the argument could be made either way, but you can see under the Attorney General opinions how this would be a professional service. Again, we're not buying software off the shelf. We're having it developed specifically for us, and I think it meets the criteria of mental, if not a physical type of action under
I would agree with you, Ken, if it weren't for the fact that it specifically reads that way in black and white. It defines itself, and when under the definition of a high technology item, what you all are purchasing is exactly the way it reads. If it weren't there, then you could say, well, wait, is this professional service? Yeah, maybe. But it does read specifically to include it. Again, I'm happy to express what I feel about whether it is or isn't, but if it's less than $50,000, it doesn't matter.
that's true.
Overall, you feel like this is going to be a positive aspect for us?
Well, right now we're not able to use the Munis product in payroll preparation. And if this helps us to move past PeopleSoft, and if the court is not going to entertain a solution where you could use the Munis product as is, then you'll have to do something, and it will cost money. There are solutions where you could use the Munis product as is.
There are solutions.
Sure.
You looked at that, Robert?
He's talking about bi-weekly.
Oh, okay. That's what you're talking about, isn't it?
Sure.
They did have, in fact, representatives from your office working with been all the way?
We were involved in discussions and phone conversations with, folks, but,
And then they call the presentation.
okay.
We saw.
Hey, Robert, is this payroll module that they're gonna have, is it gonna interface with Munis?
If I understand you right, Munis has what's called a timekeeping interface, and it uses that interface to import the time.
So you've got the assurance from Munis that once they develop this,
They had talked to EDOC early on while they were here, and all this all came up just to get an example of what it needed. And we agreed that, yes, you can use just like timekeeping system, you give us this data, and we're good.
Middle size, big south is on. EDOT can answer my question. EDOT takes only the technical part, is that correct? And you agree with that, right?
the technical problem of not being on 2 weeks pay period?
Explain the technical problem.
The technical problem is the collection of the time, keeping up with the different pay period. That Susan has to get in there and calculate every pay period.
So it's sort
The
of,
time period that you're talking about is arrears, and that is not a technical.
Well, that's not the EDOT will fix the technical problem.
but the technical problem that you're talking about is when you have 2 days falls into one pay period and 2 days falls into the other pay period, right?
And also different FLSA periods.
Which that wouldn't be a problem if you were on the 26th.
That's correct.
Well,
So it's really not a technical problem.
No, the problem,
No.
no, the answer to his question,
I was talking.
okay.
We got a big issue about a bi-weekly and semi-monthly. Okay. We've been on semi-month all that, and I don't know why it's hard to impress that our employees are going to be hurt. You came up with it, you said, look, let's address the problem we do. We have addressed that. We addressed the technical problem, which EDOT has fixed, okay? Supplement, in the rails, that's another problem. It's a policy problem the whole court needs to address. Now, we are addressing that. So, like you mentioned your time clock. You had put in a program that was $150,000. That's way more than $20,000 that we talked about. So, if we can work and run this, one thing, sit here and debate and deliberate about it for years, or months, or whatever, but it's another thing, seeking pride. And it ain't no solve the problem. I think that we have basically put a solution to the technical, and we can work on the reals, which I understand that we perhaps need, that we can fix that. But I think it's a reasonable solution, just for us now.
Other questions?
You have something to add, Sam?
No, I was just going to say my answer to your question was, I'm not trying to convince the court to go one way or the other. The answer to the question is, if the time period, if the pay period were exact, number of weeks, full weeks, 1 or 2 or whatever you want to do, then it wouldn't be a problem. The technical problem that Robert's referring to is determining the number of hours worked and number of overtime hours worked when a calendar week is split, half in one pay period and half in another. That's the problem.
Now, I've had other officers argue with regards to the policy that we've been following, but I'm just saying, this particular item, I think, puts a solution to the problem that we've been discussing for about 3 or 4 months.
Other questions, comments? Here, take a motion to proceed with the EDOC proposal and
That's what I'm.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? In regard, Commissioner Gibson, to exempting this, I'm in agreement that we probably don't need to do that, but probably need to clarify that in our motion and our second on whether we're going to accept this or not. After talking to Mike Dixon, he said it really didn't matter either way. Only that you go either way. He could live with it or not. So just for clarification, I think we do need that in the motion in the second.
I'm not going to include it in my motion. I mean, the record speaks for itself. I mean, we have discussion about it. I think it's record that I bill all of us and anybody got a problem with it because we get the minutes and read it.
Okay, that's good enough for me.
So unless he states it in his motion, that means it is not exempted.
No, it means it is exempt.
It is exempt.
That's the way it's presented.
Under two different, the way it was presented, it was exempt under two different methods.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you. We need to go back to the maintenance agreements in the tax office. We got two items there under item 2, and then we got item 4 and 5 regarding the LexisNexis plan in the law library and the West law agreement for the law library. We can take 2 and 8, 4 and 5 together or separately, gentlemen.
The motion is included 4 and 5.
So we'll go back 2, 8
And 2
and 2. I've got a motion to approve 2, 8, 4 and 5.